I woke up before my alarm, staring at the ceiling, smiling like an idiot. "Today's the day," I whispered. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Claire read, "Running late. Busy morning." I laughed and replied, "Relax. I'm already in my suit." I stood up, looked at myself in the mirror, and said, "Ethan Walker, you made it." My hands shook, but it felt like good fear. The kind that comes before something right. Mark called me. "You ready, groom?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Man, I still can't believe it. 10 years together. "Yeah," I said softly. "She's my whole life." "You okay?" "You sound tense." "I'm just thinking about how lucky I am." He laughed. "Don't cry before the vows." "I won't," I promised. I checked my phone again. No new messages. I texted Claire. "Everything okay?" No reply. I told myself she was busy. Claire always hated being late. I paced the room, fixing my tie for the 5th time. My mom knocked and peeked in. "You look handsome." "Thanks, Mom. Your dad would be proud." I swallowed. "I hope so." She smiled and left. Another 10 minutes passed. My phone rang. Claire's name lit up the screen. I answered fast. "Hey, where are you?" Her voice was flat. "Ethan, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. "Talk about what? The flowers? The music?"
"No," she said.
"Listen, I can't do this." I laughed nervously. "Do what?" "The wedding." I froze. "Claire, stop joking." "I'm not joking." "Where are you?" "That doesn't matter." "It does matter," I said. "Everyone's waiting." She sighed like I was a burden. "I'm not coming." My chest felt tight. "Why?" "I've made a decision." "What decision?" I asked. "Claire, say it." "I'm ending this." I sat on the edge of the bed. "Ending what?" "Us." My voice broke. "After 10 years?" "Yes." "Is this because of the argument last week?" I said I was sorry. "It's not that." "Then what?" I asked. "Talk to me." There was a pause. Then she said, "I met someone else." I laughed again, but it sounded wrong. "You're lying." "I'm not." "Who?" I whispered. "His name is Lucas Grant." The name meant nothing to me. So, he can give me the life I want. "I gave you my life," I said. "I gave you everything." And it wasn't enough. I stood up, my hands shaking. "You're choosing money?" "I'm choosing security." "What about love?" I asked. She didn't answer. "Say something," I begged. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I never meant to hurt you." "That's exactly what you're doing." "I can't stay poor and pretend love fixes everything." My vision blurred. "We were building something." "You were," she said quietly. "I was waiting." "For what?" "For better." "So, I'm not better?" She hesitated. "No." I felt like I'd been slapped. "When were you going to tell me?" "I wasn't," she admitted. "I hoped I'd be gone before today." "Then why call?" "Because you deserve to know." I laughed bitterly. "Do I?" "Yes," she said. "Goodbye, Ethan." The line went dead. I stared at my phone like it might ring again. It didn't. Mark knocked and opened the door. "They're asking where Claire is." I looked at him and said, "She's not coming." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "She left me," I said, "for a rich guy." He swore under his breath. "I'm sorry, man." I nodded slowly. "So am I." He asked, "What do you want to do?" I looked down at my wedding suit. "I don't know." Mark left me alone. I stood there, dressed for a future that no longer existed. The room felt empty. My heart felt worse. I realized, standing in that suit, that my life had just fallen apart. I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days. My phone kept buzzing, but not with apologies. The first message from Claire read, "I didn't plan to hurt you." I typed back, "Then why does it feel planned?" She didn't reply. Another message came later. "Lucas is taking me to Miami." I stared at the screen and whispered, "Of course he is." Mark showed up uninvited. "Open the door, Ethan." "I'm fine," I lied. You sound dead. I feel worse. He walked in, looked around, and said, You still wearing the same shirt? I don't see the point of changing. He sat across from me. She chose money. She chose him, I said. That's the same thing.
My phone buzzed again.
A photo. Claire smiling on a yacht, Lucas's arm around her waist. The caption said, New beginnings. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. 10 years erased by a credit card. Mark clenched his jaw. Block her. I can't stop looking. We went out for coffee because Mark refused to let me rot. As we sat down, I heard a voice behind me. Claire, this place is cute. I turned. She was there. Lucas stood beside her, tall, polished, expensive. She froze.
Ethan.
Lucas smiled like I was invisible. You must be the ex. Mark stood. Watch your mouth. Lucas shrugged. Relax. I won. Claire said, This isn't the time. When was the time? I asked. She looked away. I didn't expect to see you. You didn't expect to replace me this fast either, I said. Lucas checked his watch. We're late. She followed him without looking back. Outside, Mark said, He's empty. He looked happy. He looked rich. That night, another text came. You wouldn't fit into my future. I typed, Was I ever your present? No reply. I scrolled through old messages, promises, jokes, plans. They felt fake now. I asked myself, did she ever love me? Or was I just convenient? 2 days later, Mark dragged me to a networking event. You can't hide forever. I stood near the back, holding a cheap drink, when murmurs spread. Claire walked in wearing a designer dress. Lucas followed like a shadow with a wallet. Someone whispered, That's Lucas Grant. Claire laughed loudly. Lucas, you're embarrassing me. He kissed her cheek. I can afford it. She spotted me. Her smile faltered for half a second, then hardened. She took the microphone. I want you all to meet my future husband. Applause filled the room. I stood there, erased, realizing I hadn't lost her to love. I'd lost her to money. I only went to the charity dinner because Mark wouldn't stop pushing. You need air, he said. And free food. I muttered, I don't belong there. He replied, Neither do half the people attending. The room buzzed with quiet laughter and money. I stood near a table, invisible, until I felt someone watching me. I turned and saw a woman across the room, calm, unreadable. She didn't smile or judge. She just observed. Mark whispered, That's Sophia Grant. I frowned. Related to Lucas? His sister. I scoffed. Great. She approached me instead of the crowd. Ethan Walker? I stiffened. Yes. I'm Sophia. I know who you are. She nodded. You look uncomfortable. I am. Why stay? My friend dragged me. She glanced at Mark. Good friend. I waited for mockery. It didn't come. She said, Everyone here is pretending. I'm not pretending, I said. I'm failing. She studied me. You were engaged to Claire. Was. She left you. Yes. For my brother. I laughed bitterly. You said it, not me. She didn't defend him. She asked, Do you think that makes you small? I hesitated. It feels that way. Feelings lie, she said. Money doesn't, I replied. She tilted her head. You think love lost to money is weakness? I think I wasn't enough. She stepped closer. Enough for whom? For her. And what did she want? Luxury. Sophia said quietly. Then she never wanted a partner. I crossed my arms. You don't know her. I know patterns. I asked, Are you here to defend him? No. Then why talk to me? Because no one else is. Silence stretched. I said, Your brother humiliated me. She replied, He humiliates himself. That's easy to say when you're rich. She met my eyes. I wasn't born gentle. Mark interrupted. Ethan, they're announcing donors. Sophia said, Go. I started to leave. She added, "One more thing." I turned. "You're standing like a man who thinks this is the end." "It feels like it." "It isn't." Later, I overheard whispers. "She's worth billions. She runs the company. Lucas answers to her." I laughed under my breath. Fate had a strange sense of humor. When I passed her again, she handed me a card. "Call me if you want work." Work. Or answers. I took it confused. She said, "You didn't lose because you're weak. You lost because you loved." I lost my job on a Monday morning. My manager didn't yell. That hurt more. He said, "Ethan, you've been distracted." I nodded. He said, "Clients noticed." I nodded again. He added, "This isn't working." I whispered, "I understand." He slid the paper across the desk. I signed it without reading. Walking out, I thought, Claire took my future, and now I handed over my present. I didn't tell anyone. I went home, closed the curtains, and sat on the floor.
My phone rang. Mark.
"Why aren't you at work?" "I'm busy." "With what?" "Falling apart." He paused. "Did you get fired?" "Yes." "I'm coming over." "Don't." "I already am." He sat beside me, silent. Finally, he said, "You smell like regret."
Good, I said.
"It fits." "You didn't lose your worth." "I lost everything else." "You lost a woman who wanted a wallet." "I still loved her." "That's not a crime." That night, my mom called. "Ethan, you missed dinner." I wasn't hungry. "Are you okay?" I laughed.
No.
She came over anyway. She looked around and said, "This place feels heavy." "So do I." She held my face. "You're not broken." "I feel useless." "You're hurting," she said. "There's a difference." After they left, I opened a drawer and pulled out the vows I wrote for Claire. I read them out loud. "I promise to choose you every day." My voice cracked. I added, "Even when it's hard." I laughed bitterly. Guess I was alone in that promise. I tore the pages once, then again, until the words meant nothing. I threw them away and whispered, "Goodbye." The next morning, my phone rang with an unknown number. "Ethan Walker?" "Yes." "This is Sophia Grant." I sat up. "Why are you calling?" "Because you didn't call me." "I didn't think I should."
Why?
"Pride." She said, "Pride doesn't pay rent." I sighed. "What do you want?" "To offer you work." "I don't need charity." She replied, "Good. I'm not offering any." "Why me?" "Because you're honest." That didn't save me.
It will, she said.
I hesitated. "Your brother hates me. He hates consequences." "I'm not qualified." "You're teachable." I said quietly, "I'm tired of being the man people walk over." "Then stop lying down," she said. I stared at the wall. "If I accept, I owe you." "You owe yourself," she replied. "What if I fail?" "Then you learn." "What if I succeed?" "Then you remember who helped you stand." Silence filled the line. I thought about my empty apartment, my torn vows, my lost job. I said, "I don't want pity." "I respect you," she said. "That's different." I closed my eyes. "When do I start?" "Today," she answered. I hung up, showered, and put on my best-worn suit. Standing outside her building, I felt small. I whispered, "Don't mess this up." I stepped inside, afraid, but moving forward anyway. I learned quickly that Sophia didn't believe in comfort. On my first day, she said, "Sit." I sat. She slid a folder toward me and asked, "What do you see?" I answered, "Numbers." She replied, "I see decisions." I frowned. "I'm not trained for this." She said, "You're trained to think. That's enough." Every morning, she challenged me. "Explain this contract. I don't understand the clause." Then ask better questions. She didn't raise her voice. That scared me more. Daniel Ross introduced himself one afternoon. "I handle legal fires." "I'm Ethan." "I know," he said. "You work harder than anyone here." "That's survival." He smiled. That's leadership. Emily Carter ran meetings like a battlefield. She told me, keep up. I'm trying. Try faster. Later she said, you don't complain. I'm used to losing quietly. She replied, you won't hear. Sophia watched everything. One night she asked, why do you stay late? Because I'm behind. You're ahead of who you were. That man failed. He survived, she corrected. I overheard whispers in the hallway. Lucas missed payments. Investors are nervous. He's bleeding cash. I stopped listening. It wasn't my fight anymore. Still, I felt balance returning. Claire texted me. You look different lately. I deleted it. Another message came. Can we talk? I blocked the screen and kept working. Sophia noticed. Distractions? Ghosts. She said, let them stay dead. Weeks passed.
My posture changed.
My voice steadied. I stopped apologizing for existing. One evening, Sophia said, you're no longer asking for permission. I'm learning. Power isn't given, she said. It's practiced. I believed her. Sophia and I started talking after hours. Not meetings. Conversations. She asked, do you ever miss who you were? I answered sometimes. She said, I miss who I trusted. I looked at her and replied, trust leaves scars. She nodded. So does power. We sat in silence that felt honest. I realized I wasn't nervous around her. I was clear. One night she said, people think strength means never breaking. I replied, I broke completely.
And you rebuilt, she said.
That matters. She told me about betrayal inside her company. Smiles hide knives, she said. I said, I've seen that face. She looked at me carefully. That's why I chose you. For work. For truth. A week later, she closed her office door. This isn't business. My chest tightened. Okay. She said, I need a partner. I laughed nervously. I'm not qualified. She replied, I don't mean romance. Then what? A strategic marriage. The words hit me hard. Marriage? Yes. Why me? Because you won't betray me, she said. I whispered, you don't know that. I do, she replied. You had every reason to become bitter. You didn't. I stood up. This feels wrong. It feels dangerous, she corrected. I still have feelings tied to my past. Feelings don't disqualify you, she said. They prove you're human. I went home and stared at the ceiling again, like my wedding morning. I thought about Claire, about humiliation, about power slipping through my fingers once. I asked myself, am I running from pain or choosing strength? My phone buzzed. Claire again. I heard you're doing well. I didn't answer. The next day I told Sophia, I'm afraid. She said, good. Of losing myself. You'll find more, she replied. I asked, what do you gain?
Control, she said.
And protection. And me? Dignity, she said softly. I took a breath. I'll do it. She nodded once. Then we do this clean. The announcement went public fast. Cameras. Headlines. Whispers. I stood beside her, calm. Claire stood across the room, frozen. Lucas laughed at first. Then his smile cracked. Claire's eyes found mine. She mouthed my name. I didn't respond. Lucas said loudly, this is a joke. Sophia replied, it's a decision. Claire stepped forward. Ethan, can we talk? I said, not today. As flashes went off, I felt nothing sharp. No anger. No joy. Just control. I realized something quietly powerful. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted ownership of my life. I heard Lucas's name in meetings before I saw his fall. Daniel said, another lawsuit filed. Someone else added, 2 investors pulled out. I stayed quiet. Emily whispered, this is getting ugly. I replied, it always does before the truth shows. I wasn't celebrating. I was observing. Sophia asked me, does this distract you? No, I said. It reminds me why I work. She nodded.
Good.
In the hallway, I heard voices. Lucas lied about projections. He forged signatures. He's blaming everyone. I walked past without stopping. Power felt different now. It didn't rush. It waited. Claire started calling. 1 missed call became 5. A text followed. Please talk to me. I didn't answer. Another message came. I made a mistake. I stared at the screen and felt nothing sharp. That scared me more than anger. Sophia noticed my silence. You don't owe explanations, she said. I know, I replied. But I owe myself closure. I agreed to meet Claire in a quiet cafe. She arrived early, hands shaking. She said, You look different. I feel different, I said. She whispered, I'm sorry. I asked, for what? For choosing wrong. You chose clearly, I replied. She looked down. Lucas is falling apart. I know. He used me, she said. I answered calmly. You used me too. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think you'd survive. I said, Neither did I.
She reached for my hand.
I moved it away.
I don't hate you, I said.
That hurts more, she admitted. I don't want revenge. I continued. I want peace. She asked, Is there any chance? I shook my head. That chance ended at the altar. Sophia waited outside. She didn't ask questions. She said, Are you okay? Yes, I replied. And for the first time, it was true. That afternoon, the news broke. Screens showed Lucas surrounded by reporters. Someone shouted, Did you steal investor funds? He yelled back, This is a setup. Documents flashed. Numbers didn't lie. Sophia stood beside me, steady. I felt the final thread snap. Lucas looked directly at the camera and shouted my name. I didn't flinch. Karma didn't need my voice. It had found his. I saw Claire on the news before she called me. The headline scrolled past and Mark said, That's her. I nodded and replied, I know. She looked smaller on the screen, cornered by cameras, questions firing. Someone shouted, Did you know about Lucas? She shook her head and said, I was lied to. I muted the sound. I didn't want excuses. My phone rang an hour later. Ethan, please, she said. I don't have anyone else. I answered, You chose that. She whispered, I deserve that. We met outside the courthouse because she said she couldn't face cafes anymore. She looked tired, stripped of confidence. She said, They laugh when I walk past. I replied, They laughed at me too. She flinched and said, I know. She asked, Can you forgive me? I took a breath and said, Forgiveness isn't reunion. She nodded quickly. I'm not asking for us. Her voice broke. I just need to know I'm not evil. I said, You made selfish choices. She asked, Is that unforgivable? I answered, It's unforgettable. She cried quietly and said, I lost everything. I replied, You lost what you traded away. That was the truth, not cruelty. Walking away, I felt light, not happy.
Free.
I asked myself, did I win? The answer came softly. I healed. Revenge had tempted me once, but it felt cheap now. Karma had spoken without my permission. I didn't need blood on my hands to feel justice. Sophia and I stood in a quiet room days later. No cameras. No strategy. She asked, Are you sure? I said, I've never been clearer. She smiled gently. Then we choose trust. We signed papers, not as armor, but as promise. She squeezed my hand and said, I won't own you. I replied, I won't disappear. We laughed softly, like survivors. That night, I packed away the last reminders of my old life. I didn't burn them. I thanked them. I said out loud, You taught me. Sophia heard me and asked, Regrets? I shook my head. Lessons. She said, That's power. I finally understood. Power wasn't revenge. It was peace I could keep. I watched the footage again later, alone. Commentators argued about blame. I said to the screen, "You chose him." My chest stayed calm. That surprised me. Anger had burned out. Shame had loosened. What remained was clarity. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Claire sent one last message. "I'm starting over." I typed, "Learn slowly." She replied, "Thank you for not destroying me." I paused and wrote, "Life already did." She sent no reply. I deleted the thread. At work the mood was quiet. Daniel said, "It's finished." Emily added, "Markets reacted." Sophia looked at me and asked, "Anything you need?" I answered, "Just tomorrow." She smiled. "You've earned it." I realized earning felt better than taking. That evening Sophia and I talked over dinner. She said, "We don't have to rush." I replied, "I'm not running anymore." She asked, "Do you still hurt?" I said, "Sometimes." She nodded. "We build anyway." I thought about the altar again. Not with pain, with distance. I said, "I forgive myself." Sophia asked, "For what?" I answered, "Staying too long." She squeezed my fingers. "You left when it mattered." The world felt quieter after that. Not empty, balanced. I watched the city lights and said, "I'm okay." Sophia replied, "I know." Silence stayed. It didn't scare me anymore. I wrote a short note to myself. Choose respect over fear. I read it twice. It felt earned. I folded it and put it away. The past finally loosened its grip. Later, Sophia asked, "Ready for the next chapter?" I smiled. "I'm already in it." She laughed. "Good." We stood together. Equals. Partners. Not hiding. Not proving. Just moving forward. I slept well that night. No dreams. No echoes. Morning came quietly. I woke steady. I said, "Thank you." No one answered. That was enough. I stepped into the future without looking back. My hands were clean.
My voice was mine.
I was done surviving. I was living. And for the first time, peace stayed with me. It didn't ask for permission. It just existed. Quietly. Fully. I stood beside Sophia on the balcony as the city moved below us. She said, "You're quiet." I replied, "I'm listening." She smiled. "To what?" I said, "To myself." That surprised her. It surprised me too. I wasn't arguing with the past anymore. I wasn't begging the future either. I was present. Sophia asked, "Do you miss her?" I thought before answering. I missed the version of me that believed forever meant safety. She nodded. "And now?" I said, "Now I believe in choice." She leaned on the railing. "You chose yourself." I answered, "With help." At work people spoke differently to me. Daniel said, "You've changed." I replied, "I stopped shrinking." Emily laughed and said, "About time?" I didn't feel proud. I felt steady. That mattered more. Power didn't feel loud anymore. It felt calm. That evening Sophia and I reviewed contracts. She said, "You don't defer anymore." I answered, "I trust my judgment." She looked at me carefully.
Good.
"I don't want a shadow." I said, "I don't want a throne." She smiled. "Then we're aligned." Later she asked, "If Claire walked in right now, what would you do?" I pictured it. I said, "I'd wish her well and keep my seat." Sophia replied, "That's strength." I shook my head. That's closure. There was no fire in my chest. Just space. I called my mother. She said, "You sound lighter." I answered, "I am." She asked, "Are you happy?"
I paused.
"I'm honest." She laughed softly. "That's better." I thought about the wedding that never happened. The suit. The silence. The phone call. For the first time, I didn't feel shame. I felt gratitude. That day exposed everything false. It cut me open so I could heal right. Sophia joined me again and said, "Ready to go home?" I said, "Yes." She asked, "What does home mean now?" I answered, "Where I don't have to beg."
She reached for my hand.
You never will. We walked inside together. Not ahead, not behind. Side by side. I realized I wasn't a replacement for anyone. I wasn't a reaction. I was a decision. My own. Before bed, Sophia said, "Any regrets?" I replied, "Only that I didn't walk away sooner." She said, "You walked when it mattered." I believed her. I looked at my reflection and said, "You survived." Then I corrected myself. "You rebuilt." Betrayal didn't end me. It taught me boundaries. Loss didn't empty me. It made room. I lay down and felt peace settle, without effort. No plans. No fear. Just quiet confidence. I understood something simple and final. The wedding Claire canceled didn't ruin my life. It saved it. In the morning, Sophia said, "You're smiling." I replied, "I woke up without weight." She poured coffee and asked, "Do you forgive the past?" I said, "I think it." She raised an eyebrow. "That's rare." I answered, "So is growth." We sat quietly. She said, "People will talk." I replied, "They always did." She asked, "Does it matter?" I said, "Not anymore." At the office, a junior analyst asked, "How did you handle betrayal?" I answered, "By refusing to become it." He nodded slowly. That felt like a victory no headline could steal. That night, Sophia said, "You're ready." I asked, "For what?" She replied, "For peace." I smiled. "I already have it." I whispered, "Thank you," to no one. The room held the answer. I slept knowing my name again, my worth again, my direction again. Morning would come, and I would meet it standing, not pleading, not hiding. The past stayed behind, where it belonged.